Here's a video on arc length and area of a sector. In order to do this section, you're going to have to remember how to do ratios. If you can't do ratios, you're not going to be able to do this. I'll show you a quick example of a ratio. If I took a quiz that had 20 questions, okay, and I got 15 right. So I got 15 out of 20 right. If I wanted to figure out my percent of this, I could go like this. 15 equals, well, this is the entire amount of the questions. If I got everything right, I'd get a 100%. Okay, if I'm wanting to figure out this percent, I put it like this. See, it's the entire amount over part of it. Here's the entire amount of the answers if you got them all right. Here's if you got some of them right, part of it. And you cross multiply and divide. So you got to remember how to do this. 20 times x is 20x equals, and 15 times 100 is 1500. And then you would divide by 20. So this cancels and x would equal, these zeros cancels, and 150 divided by 2 is 75. So you get a 75% on the test. You got to remember how to do these ratios before we can go, you can do this lesson. Alright, first thing you got to learn on this lesson is there's a difference between how many degrees is in this arc right here and how long it is. It might be 12 inches long, but this one looks like it's around 90 degrees. So if you see the S, we're talking about length, how long it is. And if you see this sign, we're talking about degree, how many degrees it is. You got to be able to see those differences before we move on. Okay, so we're going to be using the formulas for area and circumference in order to find areas of sectors and arc lengths. All right, remember the area, the formula for area is pi r squared. You don't have to memorize that; it'll be on a formula sheet, but you have been doing it for years, and hopefully you just know it. So pi r squared. And when we think of a sector, we're going to be thinking piece of the pie. The entire circle is a pie. We're wanting to know the area of one piece. You set it up like this. The area of the piece over the area of the entire thing equals how many degrees this is over the total degrees of this circle, which is 360. This part of the ratio right here, the right side, is going to be set up the same every time, whether we're doing finding the area of a sector or an arc length. Okay, let's see about the next one. This says arc length. We're going to be using circumference. Let me put d pi up here so you can remember that. That's a d, because that's the formula I'm going to be using. The circumference formula is 2 pi r or d pi. I'm going to use d pi. There should be a pi symbol there, but look at how it's set up. It is the length of the arc over the circumference, the entire thing, equals how many degrees this is over 360. This part will be the same every time. Let's look at a few examples. Hope I went the wrong way. Here we go. It says find the area of the shaded part. Okay, well this whole entire thing is shaded here. When I used an eraser earlier, it kind of got rid of that a little bit. So let's set it up. Now remember, this side's going to look the same every time. It's going to be 360, and up here is how many degrees whatever we're looking for is. And in this case, it's 270. Alright, then on my other side, it's going to be the area of the part that we're looking for. We're not looking for the entire area. This part, we don't know what that is, over the area of the entire circle. And the area is of this entire circle right here is 2 pi r. Excuse me, it's pi r squared. Remember, area is pi r squared. So I would have pi 7 squared. Okay, so now you cross multiply and divide. X times 360 is 360x equals 7 times 7 is 49, and 49 times 270, let's see, 49 times 270 is 13,230. 13,230. And remember, pi goes with that. So now if I divide by 360, and I divide by 360, okay, these cancel, and I have x equals, well, 13,230 divided by 360, already got a calculator there, someone hit divided by 360, that equals 36.75. So 36.75, and that pi goes right there on the answer. So the question was, what's the area of this shaded part? Well, the area is 36.75 pi. Okay, now remember, sometimes you might have an answer, if it's a multiple choice test, pi might not be in the answers. You have a bunch of others, you'd have to multiply that by pi in the calculator to find the total number. So that's it. That's all you do. Let's take a look at another one. Trust the formula. All right, we're looking for arc length. 360 always goes here. The length of this arc, since this is a central angle and this is part, then the length, that's 60. Now we're looking for part of the circumference. We'll call that x. We're looking for this, or we might want to put on there. S, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that length S over. Now remember, the circumference of this whole thing is d pi. And if r right here is 6, d is twice as big as that, so it's 12. So the circumference of the whole thing would be 12 pi. Okay? Now we just cross multiply again. Just working these ratios. S times 360 is 360 S. That equals, and 60 times 12 is 720, and I'll just tack that pi right on the edge of it. All right, now I need S by itself, so I'm going to divide by 360. Okay, and these cancel, and I have S equals, now 720 divided by 360 is 2, and then you tack that pi on the end of it. So long as pi's on top like that you can do that. Alright, let's watch. This time you got to know you're going to be setting up the same ratios, only look, this time it's asking for something different. It's saying find the radius. This part over here doesn't change, 360, the entire degrees of it. This central angle right here is 120. Alright. It tells us this arc length this time. It tells us part of the circumference, and the part that tells us is 9. And then we're looking for the circumference, which is 2 pi r, or d pi. I'm going to say d pi, and then I'll cut the answer in half when I solve it. Alright, so here, d pi times 120, I'm going to put 120 pi d. And then 9 times 360, 9 times 360 is 3,240. 3,240. Okay, so now I'm going to divide by 120 pi. 120 pi. Now, for me, I'm going to go ahead and go 120 pi and get that answer. I'm going to go 120 pi, since pi is on the bottom. Let's do that, 120 pi. I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to get what 120 pi is. 120 pi is 376.99. That's going to be 377. Right, okay, I'm going to round that off to 377. So then I'm going to go 3,240 divided by 377. So 2,340 divided by 377 equals. Now that gave us this number. Remember, that would D would be equal to. That is such an ugly D. That's what D, let me get this calculator back here. That's what D is equal to. So if I'm wanting to find R, just cut that in half, or divide it by 2. And the R in this case would be 4.3. So R equals 4.3. So I do this math with pi before I divide, because sometimes you don't use parentheses right and different things like that. It can give you the wrong answer. All right, let's look at another one. All right, we're going to set up our ratio. This time it's asking us to find the degrees of this. So it's asking us to find this degree this time. The total is always 360. That'll always go there. The area of part of this circle is 12. And the area of the entire thing right here, remember area is pi r squared. So I'd have pi 2.5 squared. Now I'm going to cross multiply. X times this, 2.5 squared pi is 2.5 squared pi x equals, and 12 times 360, I'm not sure what that is, but let's see, 12 times 360 equals 4320, so 4,320. All right, so now I'm going to divide by 2.5 squared pi, both sides, 2.5 squared pi, and I'll get x, because this will cancel and I'll have x here. Okay, now before I do this, I'm going to figure out what this is. So watch, I'm going to go 2.5 squared and hit enter, and then I'm going to hit times pi, hit enter. Alright, so this is 19.63. That's what it rounds to, 19.63. So now I'm going to go 4,320 divided by 19.63. So I'm going to go 4,320 divided by, and this rounded off to 19.63. 19.63. And we get 220, and it rounds off to 220.1. We'll just call it 220.1, and that's degrees. That answer looks like it makes sense. The degrees of that is rather large, so looks like we're good. All right, last example. It says find the radius. All right, and this time it says the area of the shaded area is 9 pi. So this is 9 pi. All right, well, let's set up our ratios. 360 always goes on bottom. This arc length right here, it tells us, is 110. The area of this shaded part is 9 pi. And the radius of the, the area of the entire circle is pi r squared. We're looking for r. So we're going to cross multiply. This would be 110 pi r squared equals, actually, let me, hold on. I technically have not done anything wrong, but let me go ahead and take these pi's off because they cancel each other before I do that. It'll just make it easier. I could have did it the way I was doing it. Let's make it easier. These pi's cancel. So this would be 110 r squared equals, and then 9 times 360, I'm not sure what that is. Let's see. 9 times 360 equals 3240, so 3,240. Then I divide by 110. Okay, so let me take that and divide by 110. Hit enter, and I get this number. Okay, that's going to be round off to 29.45. So I'd have r squared equals 29.45. And remember, to get rid of a square, we do the square root. So if I just take the square root of that, I'll figure out what r is. So let's take the square root. 29.45. I get 5.43. So 5.43 is the radius. So that's how you'd solve it. So just trust these ratios and learn how to set them up. So here's your extra credit. For 1, tell me how far it is the length of arc AB. And for 2, tell me the length of arc AB. Be careful, that's an inscribed angle. You got to remember what about that rule about the inscribed angle. For 3 and 4, tell me the area of each of the 2 shaded areas. Show all of your work, show the ratios and how they're set up. Turn it in to Mr. Riddle, get your extra credit.